water and pale bodies in bright spandex, where I met Oz, and where the last traces of my childhood were washed away. Chapter 2. As he swam past, Stefan's bone-white arm lifted out of the water, revealing his face, goggled, shaved, his air-blowing lips a soft pink ring. I was sitting with Petra and my girlfriend Meier by the low-tiled wall that ran the pool's 50-metre length, draped with colourful towels drying in the sun. I could hear the tinny sound of the motels coming from a cassette I'd made Meier. Through the Walkman's plastic window, I could see New Songs for M written in Tipex next to a lumpen blob, an ugly attempt at a flower that I'd obliterated because it had looked childish. Meier stared down at a school copy of The Count of Monte Cristo, striated with another student's penciled underlinings. She took so much pleasure in reading that her only prerequisite for a book was that it be long. If it was less than 500 pages, she wasn't interested. So she consumed Stephen King and Rosamund Pilcher as voraciously as she did Victor Hugo, Thomas Mann, and Günter Grass. She squinted against the sun, her height visible in the folded leg that she clung to like a rock, her chin resting on her knee, her damp hair, long, brown, and unfashionably straight, hung around her shoulders, the tips adorned with water droplets like glass beads. Petra lay on her front with her bikini top undone. Her ashy bob was tied into a ponytail and was dry, because she never swam at the pool, she just tanned. She wore large white-framed sunglasses and flicked through Brigitte, snorting derisively at the fashion spreads. It was always hard to tell if this glibness of hers was genuine. It certainly didn't square with her academic successes. Although Meier was always the cleverest, it was Petra who worked the hardest. She'd got the second-best Abitur grades, German A-levels, in her school, and the head of biology at the University of Hohenheim had called her personally when he received her application.
"Listen to this,"
Petra said, slapping my leg, as she began to read out my horoscope. Stefan passed again. The lifeguard blew his whistle at the rippling shadow of two boys who'd bombed into the water. And I saw a man emerging from the pool, water pouring from his brown back and red trunks. The man rubbed his face and turned, and the water falling from his body shattered and steamed on the terracotta tiles. The trees behind him retained the bright green of early summer, and his face, as he slicked back his black hair, was fixed in an expression of doubtful, open-mouthed concentration. He was hairier than me, an attractive flurry across his chest and on his stomach, in his armpits as he lifted his arms to squeeze the water from his hair. A gold chain, very fine, shimmered like fish scales near his throat, and on his wrist he wore a digital watch, gold too, the link strap brilliant with sunshine. His fingers parted, and I looked down at the novel between my legs, white as tripe, and the amber hairs peeping out from the ancient elastic of my black trunks. I knew him, or at least I'd seen him before, parked on our street near the corner of Schillerstrasse. He was there on the last day I cycled to school, sitting in a 1970s moss green Mercedes 240D. One wrist rested on the black plastic steering wheel, the hand limp like Michelangelo's Adam, with a cigarette between index and middle finger. The other hand was at his mouth, the nail of his middle finger touching the gap between his front teeth. I might have forgotten about him, had he not still been there when I cycled home. His window was rolled down. I picked up a trace of cigarette smoke and tinny jazz music, and though I was cycling too fast to see what he was reading, I could tell from the pastel-coloured cloth that it was a hardback book without its dust jacket. He reappeared once or twice a week, but he never noticed me. Though the colour of the books changed, he never once looked up from them when I cycled past. When I saw him at the edge of the pool, though, our eyes met. Perhaps the familiarity of Prinsenbad and my friends meant that I seemed, in that moment, completely comfortable with myself. And perhaps the novel between my legs made me look more adult and worldly than I felt. Because there were plenty of clues to my unworldliness. He might have noticed the biscuit-brown towel I sat on, stiff from 1,000 washes, or my name in red thread on a white fabric label that had come loose on one side. He might have noticed that the book, a battered copy of Midnight's Children, still with its plastic cover and yellow Dewey Decimal sticker, had been stolen from the school library. He might have noticed my hand-sewn toweling swimming bag, with the face of Fungus the Bogeyman sewn onto it. I looked back down at the